In every FPS game, not just Overwatch, there are specific terms and callouts that the community have coined that make communication between your team a lot easier. For example, one of the most famous callouts, Rush B, whilst for the most part being a meme, is so well known that in games such as CoD and CS that if you actually ask somebody to rush B, they'd instantly know what you're talking about. In Overwatch, there are a lot of callouts and terms that you should learn. Some of them aren't as important as others, but some are so important that they've basically become the standard in every match. And in this video, I'm going to take you through the history of one of the most famous terms in Overwatch history. So famous that it's still a relevant term to this day. The infamous C9. But first, I'm going to ask you to subscribe and leave a like on this video, as I want to continue making Overwatch 2 related content that's not only entertaining, but educational too. Before we get into what the C9 actually is, we need to go back to 2017 when Overwatch League had their inaugural season. Before Overwatch League was a thing, there was Overwatch Apex, which was near enough the same thing, but it was played mostly by South Korean teams with several Western teams invited to compete. Amongst these Western teams were Cloud9, who eventually went on to become the London Spitfire. Now, Cloud9 weren't a terrible team. In fact, their roster was built. I'm going to mention two names that will be very familiar to you if you're big into Overwatch content creators. Aspen, although she wasn't signed until 2018, whereas the C9 happened in 2017, and Surefall. Yep, that says about all you need to know about the team. At the time of the incident, they were considered by many to be one of the best in the West. So, how did Cloud9 come into all of this? You may be wondering. Well, C9 stands for Cloud9. The C9 is a mistake they made in a match against AF Blue on Lijiang Tower in Season 2 of Overwatch Apex. Both teams were contesting the objective with AF Blue at 99% progress and C9 at 60%. Cloud9 got distracted in a fight against AF Blue's tanks, yes, plural, tanks, the glory days, and failed to touch the objective to refresh the overtime countdown whilst 3 players from the AF Blue roster were on the objective. So despite winning the team fight, Cloud9 lost the round. This only got worse when they made the exact same mistake on map 3. You might not have seen those maps, but I can be fairly sure that you might have seen this clip from Watchpoint Gibraltar where they do the exact same thing. They're in a comfortable position where they could easily win last point in overtime, but they just hop off the point, meaning that the round can't even go into overtime.
Cloud9, not out of it here yet. They cannot leave the payload for any reason. There's the barrier. Now they have 4. Moving back in. Will it be enough? Space, he's demeched. Looking to get back in, Brent. Misfits, they're actually getting pushed back. Oh no!
And that is what a C9 actually is. Simply not getting overtime when you could very easily do so. There's a lot of confusion in the community where they're calling stuff like backcapping a Charles the Ninth, which it really isn't. I can understand the confusion, as you need to be somewhat familiar with the history of Overwatch League in order to fully understand what C9 truly is. In a game like Overwatch, it can get confusing because of the sheer amount of terms that there are. Plus, there are some that you might hear in the world that you've never heard before, such as getting Ajaxed. This is when a Lucio is killed before they can successfully pop beat. It's very unfortunate, but it happens. But that just about does it for this video. Hopefully this has helped you understand the terminology a little bit more clearly than you already did. As I mentioned before, Overwatch can get confusing with all of these terms and callouts, but don't worry, after a while you'll understand most of, if not all of them. If you found this video to be helpful, consider liking the video and subscribing, as my content is much more aimed towards giving the new players advice on how to play different heroes and just on how to play the game in general. I'll be back on Friday with another guide on another hero. I'm not too sure who yet, but keep an eye out because it might be on a hero that you might want to learn. Finally, have a nice day or night if you're watching this at night, and make sure to check out my other videos. Not only will I appreciate it, but you might too.